was released in theaters August 7th, 1985. And this is a movie that's a classic now and well-loved by fans, but it almost wasn't. And that is because of the subject matter, which made it almost too intelligent for your average moviegoer. And I know that sounds really bad and demeaning, and I don't mean it to sound that way, but it's the truth. You see, this movie is not just an 80s college romp. No, it has to do with lasers and the physics surrounding them. And your average Joe moviegoer usually isn't that keen on such a science, meaning that this movie had a storyline that pretty much nobody really understood. I mean, it is a risky move to make a comedy that's about high physics, and anyone that doesn't have any kind of science degree more than likely wouldn't get it. And the physics and engineering aspects and all that jazz that are contained and mentioned in this movie and have a huge part to do with the plots apparently are rather accurate. I mean, not that I would know any difference. I don't know anything about this shit, but that's what I heard. And that is because director Martha Coolidge did not want to go into this project cold and wanted to have some sort of grasp on the subject matter. So she studied and researched and got advice from actual sciencey people. So she did her homework. So the science is pretty legit, not that most of us could tell, which made this movie almost too intelligent for its own good. But it was written in such a way that even though most of us did not understand what they were talking about, we were still able to enjoy it. But in all actuality, this movie was a little intimidating to anyone that wasn't a laser engineer. But it seems like everyone eventually got over that. Now, initially, this movie wasn't too much of a hit. It was made on a budget of $8 million and took in $13 million at the box office. I mean, there's a profit ratio there, but it wasn't that big. Oh, sure, this movie's a pretty big deal nowadays, but that wasn't always the case. It's well known as a Val Kilmer classic, but back then, no one really knew who Val Kilmer was. Yeah, I mean, this was one of his first major roles. Outside of Top Secret, no one was really that familiar with him. So basically, this movie did pretty well, considering it was about something that most people didn't understand and starred someone that most people didn't know. This movie also stars a very young Sarah Jessica Parker before the operation. Okay, so it's really Gabe Jarrett, but tell me he doesn't look like Sarah Jessica Parker. And have you ever seen these two in the same place at the same time? I think not. And this movie is also known for being the first time we all saw John Grise, even though we didn't know it. Yeah, John Grise, the actor that would pop up again years and years and years and years later in Napoleon Dynamite as Uncle Rico, was in this movie. And like I said, we all knew it was him, we just didn't realize it at the time. And then you would look back and realize that John Grise has been in like a million things, including TerrorVision and Monster Squad. But here in Real Genius is where most of us first saw him, even though we didn't really even know it. And this film also stars William Atherton, who portrays the villain. And this guy pretty much plays a bad guy in everything he's in, including Ghostbusters. Real Genius also stars Yuji Okimoto, the guy who played the bad guy in The Karate Kid Part 2. Real Genius is now a legendary movie, and an iconic 80s movie, but really that wasn't until after the fact. And after the fact means that its acknowledgement was achieved by, and its accolades obtained from, VHS rentals and sales. It was first released on VHS in 1985 by RCA Columbia Pictures Home Video. It would then be released again on VHS in 1991 by Columbia TriStar Home Video, which is essentially the same company, they just changed their name and nobody cared. And that same company would release it again in 1996 in a gosh darn kids clamshell. Yeah, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, they put it in a stupid, bulky, clumsy, cumbersome kids clamshell. And I hate kids clamshells. There was no reason whatsoever to put this movie in one of those. But anyways, you can find any of these distributions, including the stupid-ass kids clamshell one, rather easily today for some rather cheap prices. Looks like between $3 and $10 is the current going average, so if you don't have this, you might want to get it.